He strutted up my driveway like he owned the pavement, like the air was his to breathe, and I was just squatting in his kingdom. Designer shoes. Rolex. Button-down shirt unbuttoned just low enough to flex a gym-built chest. He didn't knock. Didn't ring. Just opened the gate, walked past my car like I was valet, and smirked. "You must be Daniel," he said, voice oily smooth. "Look, man, don't make this harder than it has to be. You've had your time. Now be a man, do the right thing, and back off." I stood there, holding a half-full mug of coffee, still in my slippers, blindsided by the real-life villain standing in front of me like we were in some twisted soap opera. I didn't say anything, just blinked. My brain was lagging. "Olivia's not happy," he continued, stepping closer like he was trying to tower over me. "She deserves better. She chose better." Then he had the balls to pat me on the shoulder, like I was a charity case being put out of his misery. But you know how some moments stretch time? This was one of them. I looked at his smug little grin, then down at his hand on my shoulder. Then I saw it in my head, Olivia laughing with this clown, probably mocking the man who pays her bills, who bought this house, who took her family in when her mom got cancer. I snapped. 5 minutes later, Mr. Alpha was dragging his limp pride down my driveway, shirt torn, Rolex gone, probably still wondering what the hell hit him. I hadn't thrown a single punch. I didn't have to. When you strip a man's illusion, that's when he collapses. And I had words sharp enough to do surgery. He called her. I heard her ringtone buzzing inside my house. She didn't answer. I stepped inside, still breathing heavy, adrenaline burning my throat like whiskey. The silence in the living room was dense. Her heels sat neatly by the door. Her purse was on the couch. That lying which was home. Hiding. "Olivia," I called out. "Come down here. Now." No answer. But I knew she heard me. The thing is, this wasn't the start of her betrayal. Not really. It was just the part where she stopped pretending. I'd felt it for weeks, no, months. The late meetings. The freshly waxed legs on girls' nights. The way she started sleeping in silk again. All signs. I'd just been too much of a coward to accept them. Until today. Today, her fake prince showed up on my doorstep and demanded my crown. And now I wanted answers. No more lies. No more passive smirks. I needed to look in her eyes and see just how deep the route went. As I walked toward the staircase, something snapped under my foot. I looked down. A man's belt. Not mine. Not from my wardrobe. The gold-plated buckle had initials. T.S. Tom. His name was Tom. She didn't even have the decency to clean up after him. That's when I knew I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. The storm hadn't even started. I just climbed the stairs, one slow step at a time, ready to burn the house down, not with fire, but with truth. And she was going to choke on every piece of it. I reached the top of the stairs and found the bedroom door half open. She was sitting at her vanity, brushing her hair like we were about to have a casual night in. No apology in her eyes. No panic. Just that same cold, distant look I'd grown used to these past months, like I was a ghost she hadn't figured out how to banish yet. "Did your little boyfriend limp all the way home?" she said without even turning around. I stared at her back, trying to wrap my head around the audacity. "He came here to tell me to do the right thing and leave you," I said. "He thought I'd just hand you over like a busted car lease." She finally met my eyes in the mirror. "Because that's what you are now, Daniel. Expired." I walked into the room and dropped the belt on the floor beside her. "Next time, tell your toy boy not to leave his leash behind." She blinked, then smiled like this was all a game, and I had just made my first move. "I told him you'd find it. Thought it'd speed things up." I felt my pulse in my throat. Speed what up? The divorce? The humiliation? Or you parading him through my life like I never mattered? She stood and turned to face me. That smug expression was still there, but underneath it, something cruel. Something proud. "Tom is a man, Daniel. A real one. He doesn't hide behind spreadsheets or cry when work gets stressful. He takes what he wants." "You mean my house? My wife? My life?" She tilted her head like I was being overly dramatic. "You lost me months ago. Tom's just the one who picked me up." It wasn't even the words. It was how calmly she said them. Like betrayal was just a rebranding. I laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because I finally saw her clearly. This woman who used to write me love notes in my lunch. Who used to beg me to stay 5 more minutes in bed. Who called me her anchor when her world was falling apart. She was gone. Replaced. I stepped back. "You rehearsed that, didn't you?" "What?" "The lines. The timing. The insults. This is your big scene, Olivia. Congratulations, You're the villain now. Her face twitched, but she recovered fast. No, Daniel. You're just bitter because you lost. I looked around the room. The photos. The bed we bought together. The closet I built with my own hands. Everything in here mine. Every memory corrupted. Lost? I whispered. You don't even realize what you've done. You burned everything we built for a man who can't even walk straight after a 10-minute conversation. She scoffed and walked past me like I wasn't there. Don't flatter yourself. He's limping because he tripped. Sure. Right after I told him the kind of woman you really are. She froze at the door. And what's that supposed to mean? I stepped closer. A coward. A liar. A parasite. You needed someone to blame for your unhappiness, so you created a new fantasy to distract yourself. She turned around, lips curled. You're pathetic. That's why I stopped touching you. That's why I stopped caring. I stared at her, not with anger anymore, but something colder. Emptier. You didn't stop caring, Olivia. You stopped being human. She slammed the door behind her and stomped downstairs. I didn't follow. Not yet. Instead, I sat down at the edge of the bed we used to share, in a house I paid for, surrounded by lies I didn't see coming. My hands were shaking not from rage, but from the weight of acceptance. This wasn't a nightmare. This was the truth, raw and permanent. My wife had chosen another man. She'd chosen to spit on everything we built for lust, ego, control. And now? Now it was my turn to choose. I stayed upstairs for 10 minutes, maybe more. The silence in the house felt like a threat, too loud, too sharp, like something was about to explode. When I finally came down, Olivia was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine. Not red. Not white. Rose. She only drank that when she was in her mood. I used to find it cute. Tonight, it made my skin crawl. Do you want a glass? She asked, like we hadn't just torched a decade of marriage upstairs. I didn't answer. She sipped it slowly, like we were back on vacation in Napa and she was trying to savor the notes. Her calm was psychotic. I don't get it, I said. What happened to you? She turned, smiling. I got bored. That hit harder than any insult. You got bored, I repeated, deadpan. You work too much. You're always tired. You stopped making me feel seen, Daniel. She shrugged, like that justified everything. Tom? He listens. He notices. He makes me feel like I still matter. I leaned against the fridge. So instead of talking to me, you auditioned for a new life behind my back? She rolled her eyes. Spare me the wounded husband speech. You weren't exactly Prince Charming this past year. No. I was your husband. I was the one who stayed when your mom got sick. I was the one who paid for her treatment. I was the one who turned down that job in Seattle because you didn't want to move. She placed the glass down with a loud clink. And I'm supposed to be grateful? Forever? Newsflash, I didn't ask you to do any of that. You didn't have to, I said. That's what love is, Olivia. You don't keep score. You just do. She crossed her arms. Well, maybe I stopped loving you. That one cut deep. I swallowed hard. When? She hesitated. The night you forgot our anniversary. My head snapped up. That was 2 years ago. I was in the hospital, Olivia. I had a concussion. She didn't flinch. Still, you forgot. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She had rewritten our entire history, painted herself the victim just to avoid facing the reality of what she was doing. You're incredible, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. You really think you're the one who's been wronged here. She picked up her wine again. I think I deserve to be happy. And if that makes me the villain in your sad little story, so be it. I stepped forward. Let me guess. Tom makes you feel alive. Her smile widened. Every night. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I wanted to break something, but I didn't. Instead, I laughed. Short. Bitter. Honest. You know what's funny? You thought you were cheating on me with a man, but all you did was downgrade to a walking cologne ad with a high credit score. Her lips parted. Don't. Olivia, you think this ends with you walking away and me collapsing? That's not how this plays out. She tried to cut in, but I held up a hand. No, you're going to listen. I gave you everything. And you broke it, not because of me. Not because of what I didn't do, but because you're so hollow inside, you needed someone else's attention to feel whole. Tom's not your partner. He's your mirror. And the reflection is ugly. She was silent. I grabbed my keys from the counter. Where are you going? She asked, voice finally cracking. To do what you should have done a long time ago. And what's that? I looked her dead in the eye. Tell the truth. Then I walked out, letting the doors swing shut behind me. The air outside hit me like a slap. Cold, clean, real. It felt good, honest, in a way that nothing inside that house had been in a long time. I got in the car, turned the ignition, and just sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel like it might hold me together. I wasn't sure where I was going. Not yet. But I knew I had to move. My phone buzzed. "Don't be dramatic. Come back. We can talk." A message from Olivia. As if she hadn't just thrown a grenade into our life and stood there watching it burn with a wine glass in her hand. I ignored it. Instead, I drove. No music. No destination. Just road and silence. A man on autopilot, trying not to feel too much at once. Because when it hit, it would wreck me. After 30 minutes, I found myself outside Mark's house. My best friend since college. The one who warned me, twice, that Olivia seemed too polished to be real. I never listened. I texted him, "You home?" His porch light flicked on 2 minutes later, and he opened the door in sweatpants, hair a mess. "Jesus, you look like you just found out the world's ending." "It might have," I muttered, stepping in. 10 minutes later, we were on his couch, 2 beers deep. I didn't say much at first. Just sat there, watching the TV play some mindless reality show neither of us cared about. Then I broke. "She's cheating," I said. Mark didn't blink. He just nodded slowly. "With who?" "Some dishabag named Tom. One of those guys who smells like aftershave and bad decisions." Mark set down his beer. "You okay?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "What do you think?" He didn't push. That's what made him the only person I could go to. He just waited. "She told me I'm expired," I added. Like I was a carton of milk past its date. Said he makes her feel alive. "And what did you do?" Told her the truth. That she's not looking for a man. She's looking for a mirror. Mark whistled low. "Damn." Then I told him about the belt. The smug entrance. The limp. "You should have filmed it," he said, trying to lighten the moment. "Send it to one of those cheaters get wrecked channels." "I'm not there yet," I replied. "But I might get there." Mark leaned back. "So what now?" That was the question I'd been dodging since the second Tom opened his mouth in my driveway. "I don't know. I'm still stuck on the fact she never even apologized. Not once. Just excuses and rewrites. She's rewriting the story to feel better about being the villain." I nodded. "Yeah. And what scares me is how good she is at it. How easy she lies. How casually she cut me out." Mark looked at me, serious now. "You think she ever really loved you?" The question sat heavy between us. "Maybe," I said. "But I think she loved being loved more." That hurt to say, but it felt true. Mark clapped me on the shoulder. "You want my advice?" I nodded. "Go home. But don't go to her. Go to your office. Sleep there if you have to. Then call a lawyer. Get ahead of this before she starts spinning it to her advantage." I sighed. "You think she will?" "She already has. You just haven't seen it yet." I looked down at my phone. 10 missed calls. For texts. All from Olivia. She wasn't sorry. She was trying to control the story. Mark was right. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about survival. And she just declared war. By the time I got back to the house, it was nearly 2 a.m. But I didn't go inside. I parked a block away and just watched. The lights were off. Her car was still in the driveway. No sign of Tom's slick little Mercedes. Not that it meant much. I knew now that betrayal doesn't need a witness. It grows in silence. In shadows. Mark's words echoed in my mind. She already has. You just haven't seen it yet. He was right. Olivia wasn't going to admit anything. She'd twist this until I looked like the bad guy. She'd probably already told a few people I was aggressive or emotionally distant. Anything to paint herself as the tragic heroine who had no choice. I wasn't going to let that happen. So I drove past the house and went straight to my office downtown. It was quiet. Still. That kind of cold emptiness you can only find in buildings at night. I threw my jacket over the couch and pulled up my laptop. It was time to prepare for war. First, I pulled financial records. Every joint account. Every credit card. Every suspicious charge I'd ignored over the last 6 months. Hotel rooms. Spa treatments. A $2,000 business dinner at a restaurant I knew she'd never set foot in with me. I screenshotted everything. Then I went to the cloud backup I'd set up years ago, the one Olivia never paid attention to. All the home security footage. Including the one from 3 nights ago, when she told me she was at Megan's birthday party. Turns out, she was very much not at Megan's. She was home. With Tom. In our bed. I paused the video. Watched as they laughed. Drank. Danced in the living room like idiots in a music video. And then, they disappeared into the hallway. I didn't need to see more. My jaw was tight, my fists tighter. I saved the footage, dated it, labeled it, created a new folder. Truth for court. By 4 a.m., I had a detailed timeline of her lies, a list of assets, and a backup of every photo, message, and document I needed. It was ugly, exhausting, but necessary, because I wasn't going to be another guy left with nothing but his dignity and an empty house. At 6:30, just as the sun started to crawl through the blinds, I got a text. Olivia, come home. I made breakfast. Let's talk. We can fix this. Fix this? Fix what? Her performance? Her public image? I didn't reply. Instead, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. The lawyer. The one my company used when contracts got bloody and reputations were on the line. Her name was Stephanie Grant, and she didn't lose. After one quick call and a few forwarded files, she said, "This is going to be fun. Let me know when she gets served." My stomach flipped, not with fear, but adrenaline. This wasn't just a breakup. It was an exposure. Of truth. Of lies. Of a woman who thought she could destroy someone and walk away untouched. She was wrong. I opened my email, typed up a simple message. To Olivia. You don't get to lie, cheat, and rewrite history. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. No greeting. No closing. Just that. I had sinned. Then I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and took the first full breath in days. Let her eat her breakfast. By lunch, her world would be burning. At 11:45 a.m. I got the notification, legal notice delivered. Stephanie's message came a minute later. She's been served. Should I prep for asset freeze next? I just replied. Do it. It was like a switch had flipped inside me overnight. Grief, confusion, the hollow ache in my chest, they were still there, but they'd been replaced by something cleaner, sharper. Purpose. This wasn't just about what Olivia did. It was about how she did it. She didn't just betray me. She humiliated me. Invited her affair into my home, into my bed, into my life, then stood in my kitchen and offered me wine like it was all some petty misunderstanding. Well, now she could sip on consequences. I headed home around noon, and as I pulled into the driveway, I saw her through the front window. She was pacing the living room, phone pressed to her ear, her expression somewhere between panic and disbelief. She didn't hear me come in. He blindsided me, Megan. No warning. He just served me divorce papers this morning. No, I don't know what he's thinking. I thought we were talking. What? No, I didn't tell him about Tom. He found out, okay? And now he's freezing our accounts. Yes, our accounts. How the hell was I supposed to see this coming? She turned and saw me in the doorway. Her face dropped. Panic shifted into a clumsy, forced softness. Daniel, she started, setting the phone down. You were just caught. Her lips tightened. We were going to talk. That's what I said in the text. I walked past her and set my bag on the counter. I did talk. To my lawyer. And now everything you thought you'd keep. I met her eyes. Gone. She crossed her arms, shifting gears. You're not going to intimidate me. I chuckled. No, Olivia. I'm just finally giving you the life you tried to sneak off to. You wanted freedom? Congratulations. You're on your own. Her confidence faltered. What about the house? I bought it before we married. It's in my name. Check the prenup you never bothered reading. Her eyes widened, and she took a slow step back. You wouldn't. I already did. She blinked, trying to process the power shift. Daniel, let's just sit down. We can figure out something that works for both of us. Like you figured out Tom behind my back? Like you figured out how to lie to me every day and pretend we still had a future. She dropped the act. Fine. You want to play dirty? I'll take you for everything. I'll tell them you were abusive. I'll say you threatened me. People will believe me. I stared at her, dead calm. Security cameras. Text records. Every call, every transaction, every hotel visit, documented. Try it. She went pale. You didn't plan for this, I continued. You thought I'd beg, cry, offer to work it out. But I'm not that man anymore. She sat down on the couch, suddenly quiet, like the weight of it was sinking in. You can't just throw away 10 years, she whispered. No, I said. You did. When you let another man crawl into our bed. When you watched him walk through our front door like he belonged here. She didn't respond, just stared at the floor, like all the arrogance had drained out of her. I took one last look at her. At the woman I once loved. The woman who'd become a stranger in my own home. You always said you wanted something exciting, I said. Well, here it is. Then I left the house again. I wasn't running this time. I was rebuilding. And she was no longer part of the blueprint. The next 48 hours were a blur of motions, meetings, and maneuvers. Olivia tried everything: calls from unknown numbers, emails with subject lines like, "Please let's talk," even a voicemail where she cried and said, "You're destroying us." But I didn't respond. Not once. She had already done that. I was just cleaning up the wreckage. Stephanie moved fast. Our joint accounts were frozen before she could siphon anything out. The house title was reinforced with documentation from the prenup. She'd get nothing except the clothes she came in with and maybe some shattered pride, if she could find it. I didn't care about revenge anymore. I cared about justice. But justice, it turns out, has a way of spilling into every corner you never expected. Saturday morning, I was in the middle of reviewing financials with Stephanie when Mark called me. Twice. Back to back. I picked up. "What's wrong?" His voice was tense. "You might want to get on Facebook." I didn't ask. Just opened it. There she was, Olivia. A long post. Tearful selfie. Caption like some tragic novel. Sometimes love isn't enough. After years of emotional neglect, I finally broke. I'm not proud of what happened, but I needed to feel something again. I pray for healing, even if I'll never be forgiven. The comments were a storm of pity and validation. "You're so brave. No one knows what happens behind closed doors. Sending you love, Olivia. You'll rise again." I nearly threw the phone. She was already rewriting history. And worse, people were eating it up like it was gospel. No mention of the affair. No accountability. Just vague, manipulative language. She was playing the role of the wounded dove, and I knew exactly how this would look unless I took control. So I logged in and posted one sentence. "You didn't break because of neglect. You broke because of betrayal, and I have the receipts." I attached the photos. The hotel records. A censored screenshot of the home footage timestamped. No names. No full exposures. Just enough to draw a line between truth and fiction. It took 3 minutes to go viral in our circle. People stopped commenting hearts on her post. They started asking questions. And then, silence. She deleted the post within an hour. That evening, I got a text from Tom. "Tom, you're a real piece of work, man. She's a wreck. You happy?" I didn't answer. But I sent the screenshots to Stephanie just in case. This wasn't about public approval. It was about cutting off her escape routes. She wanted to be the victim? Then she could sit in her mess, surrounded by evidence she couldn't scrub away. By Monday morning, the phone stopped buzzing. She knew the war was over. That afternoon, I walked back into the house, not to reconcile, not to talk, just to pick up the rest of my things. Olivia sat at the kitchen table, eyes red, no makeup. The bottle of wine she once poured with confidence now sat unopened beside her. "You really did it," she said. "You destroyed me." I met her eyes. "No, you did that to yourself." I just stopped covering the truth. Her lip trembled, but I didn't feel a thing. No anger, no sorrow, just closure. "You going to be okay?" I asked, not out of concern, but curiosity. She looked away. Eventually, I nodded. "Good." Then I walked out for the final time. No regrets. No goodbye. Just the sound of the door shutting behind me. It didn't feel like the end of a marriage. It felt like freedom. The door clicked shut behind me, and that sound, final, sharp, clean, felt like a seal breaking on a new chapter. No more pretending. No more walking on emotional eggshells. No more analyzing her tone or second-guessing her stories. That part of my life was over. I moved into a temporary apartment downtown, minimalist and cold, but peaceful. Quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't choke, it heals. No perfume lingering in the hallway. No passive-aggressive tension during dinner. Just me, the hum of the fridge, and a view of the skyline that reminded me of everything still ahead. The nights were still hard. Memories crept in like thieves. The way she used to fall asleep on my chest. The mornings we laughed over burnt toast. The old playlist we danced to on rainy nights. But I held on to the truth. Because love without loyalty is nothing but a performance. 3 weeks after I walked out, I got a letter from her attorney. A pathetic attempt at mediation. She was asking for half of the furniture, some cash, and, ironically, custody of the dog she never walked. I sent back one sentence through Stephanie. Declined. See you in court. Let her explain to a judge why she deserves anything after what she pulled. By then, people had stopped whispering. Olivia's version of the story had collapsed under the weight of receipts. Mutual friends quietly reached out, some apologizing for believing her, some just checking in. I didn't need validation. But it was comforting to know truth has a way of crawling through the cracks. One afternoon, I ran into Megan, Olivia's closest friend. She looked uncomfortable. "I didn't know it was that bad," she said. "She told us you were checked out. Cold. Controlling." I nodded slowly. "Did she also tell you about the guy she brought into my house?" Megan's eyes dropped. "She told us it wasn't serious. That it just happened." "It didn't just happen," I said. "It happened over and over. With planning. With cover stories. With fake anniversaries and staged alibis." Megan was quiet for a while. Then she muttered, "She's been spiraling." Tom left. Said he doesn't need drama. I laughed once. Not out of joy. Out of irony. Of course Tom bailed. The man strutted in with big ego energy and ran off limping. "I guess when the facade cracks, cockroaches scatter." "She thought you'd forgive her eventually," Megan added. "That's the thing," I said. "I did. For a long time. I forgave every cold look. Every night she worked late. Every moment she made me feel like a burden. But there comes a point where forgiveness isn't kindness. It's self-betrayal." She nodded. "I hope you're okay." "I am now." Weeks turned into months. The divorce finalized quickly. Thanks to the prenup and Stephanie's precision, Olivia walked away with nothing but her last name, and even that, she dropped. Changed it back to her maiden name like I was a stain she needed to scrub off her past. Fine by me. One morning, 6 months after everything fell apart, I sat in a cafe reading the news when I saw her. Olivia. Across the street. Alone. Same coat. Same haircut. Same woman, but smaller. Duller. She looked over. Our eyes met. She didn't wave. Neither did I. I just smiled to myself and returned to my coffee. There was no hate left. No bitterness. Just relief. Because I had survived the fire. And she was just smoke in my rearview mirror. What did I learn? That silence speaks louder than screaming. That betrayal doesn't define you, your response does. And that walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes, it's the bravest thing you'll ever do. So if you're reading this, wondering if you should stay and fight for someone who doesn't see your worth, let me make it easy. Walk. You're not leaving something behind. You're finally coming home to yourself.